Hello, welcome dear students, and this is the video in which we will be moving ahead on the vectors. Let me recall you, we are talking about chapters called mathematics needed for physics, and we have started with vectors. Let's recap what we have talked about the vectors, and we will be proceeding further. So the representation of a vector we were talking about. So representation of a vector can be by just drawing a vector in this way. We can draw a straight line and having some arrow on this, so this is called vector. We have talked about this is called initial point or tail, you can call it, and this is called final point, you can call it as a head, and the length between A and B is known as the magnitude. From A to B it's known as the direction. We can also represent the same vector by A vector. So these are the ways of representation. Now a vector requires both magnitude and direction. So we have discussed this A vector will be written as the magnitude of vector A, which is represented as mod of A, into the direction of the vector. So direction is represented by cap. We have also talked about or learned that the vector, this vector can also be written as AB vector, starting from A towards B. So AB vector, this AB vector is going to be equal to magnitude of AB vector, so which will be written like this, and the direction of AB vector, which will be written as AB cap. So this is another way of writing the same vector. Then we have talked about a position vector. So what is a position vector? Position vector is a vector that starts from origin. So if we place the vector, or if we place this tail of the vector at the origin, so that's known as position vector, and that O point will become the beginning point. If there is a P point on which the head joins, so OP vector will be known as a position vector. Now position vector of any point P which has a coordinates x comma y is given as OP vector is equal to x I cap plus y j cap. Now you must be remembering this I cap is indicating the direction of plus x, j cap is indicating the direction of plus y. So this is position vector of a point P which has a coordinates x comma y. This vector is known as two-dimensional vector. Now what we can do from this expression, we can find the magnitude of this vector. So from here we can calculate the magnitude of this vector. So we need to place a mod of it. It's going to be written as square root of coefficient of I cap square plus coefficient of j cap square. That means x square plus y square. You had one example related to this. Also you can write the direction, which is going to be written as OP cap, and it's written as per this formula. We can also write the direction as A cap is equal to A vector divided by A magnitude. So this formula becomes OP vector divided by magnitude of OP vector, or we can simply write as OP. So this is equal to x I cap plus y j cap divided by square root of x square plus y square. Now this was the description that we have talked about earlier, and this is related to two-dimensional point, that means xy coordinate system. So this kind of vector is known as 2D vector. Now we can go for the 3D as well. So here it will be quite easier to extend it to 3D. So let me extend over 3D this thing. Let's say we have a point P which has a coordinates x comma y comma z, because we know in the three-dimensional space x, y and z can be taken as the Cartesian coordinates for any point. Then again if you are placing joining this point P from the origin, then the position vector of point P will be given as OP vector, which is going to be equal to x I cap plus y j cap plus z k cap. So we are simply extending this concept. OP vector in two-dimensional is x I cap plus y j cap. If the three-dimension is coming, so we will be writing as a z k cap. So all the three-dimensional components has to be used. We will call it as the x component we will call it as a y component, we will call it as a z component. So this will become the vector which is known as a position vector. This can be remembered as a formula for writing position vector in 3D case. Now once we are able to write this position vector, then again we need to know the magnitude and direction. So how to write the magnitude? Again by using the similar logic, the magnitude of three-dimensional vector, that is OP vector mod, is going to be equal to square root of, we will be extending the same concept, that means squaring the coefficients and adding them. That means it will become x square plus y square plus z square. So this will become the magnitude of this particular vector. So from vector we can calculate the magnitude. Also we can calculate the direction. So for direction, what we need to do, we will say OP cap is going to be equal to OP vector divided by its magnitude. So whatever the magnitude we have calculated, this is going to be a number, this magnitude is going to be a number. OP vector is given over here, we can divide this magnitude with this vector. This will become the direction of that three-dimensional vector. Making sense? So we have talked about the representation in various ways. One was writing in this way. From this we can also write the direction. So this is also an important relation. This is going to be equal to a vector divided by magnitude of a. Here we have understood that we cannot write the magnitude of a vector as a vector divided by its direction, because the division rule is not valid. Okay, and then this is exactly similar, but this different was this is indicating that we can represent a vector by using the initial, tail point and final, which is head point. Whenever we are writing a b vector, it must start from a and going towards b. That means writing b a vector will be a different vector. That means it will start from b and going towards a. So a b means from a to b, b a means from b to a, and the direction will be written as a b cap. Now this says, this expression or these two expressions says, if we know the magnitude, if we know the direction, we can write the vector. Okay, and the position vector, this example or this illustration says, if we know the vector, if we know this vector, we can find its magnitude, we can find its direction. So from vector we can find magnitude as well as direction, and using this, from magnitude and the direction, we can write vector. So basically we are trying to learn how to represent a vector. If the magnitude and directions are known to us, we can represent a vector, or if a vector is known to us, we should be able to extract the magnitude as well as direction. This can be done for two-dimensional case. For three-dimensional case, I have illustrated over here. So the same concept has to be extended to three-dimensional case. Okay, so this is about representation of vector in few formats. There are other formats as well in which we can represent a vector. We will be considering them as we proceed further. Okay. After learning how to write a position vector, now we will be talking about how to represent or how to write a displacement vector, or what a displacement vector is. So here is a Cartesian coordinate system. This point is called origin, and let's say this point is P. If this P point has the coordinates x, y, z, I'm writing all the three coordinates, z as well. So if it is having a x, y, z, then this OP vector, if we write OP vector, this OP vector will be written as x I cap plus y j cap plus z k cap. And we have learned that this vector is known as position vector of point P. So this is called position vector of point P. Now you see, if we get a point, we can always write a position vector, because for position reference is the origin. Now if we want to translate this vector, we can translate this vector anywhere. But suppose, let's say we have we got a vector which is located like this in this coordinate in this coordinate system. That means its initial point is not at the origin. So we can call this point to be point A, we can call this point to be point B. So we can call that this is a vector AB. Now let's say A point has a coordinates x1, comma y1, comma z1, and B point has a coordinates x2, comma y2, comma z2. And if somebody wants to express this AB vector with respect to this coordinate system, then we will say this AB vector is not a position vector. As we have already talked about, for position vector it has to start from the origin. So how to write this AB vector and what this AB vector is, we are going to talk about in this particular slide. So this AB vector is displacement vector. So it can be said that the displacement vector which starts from A goes to B. So this AB vector will be known as a displacement vector. So AB vector is known as displacement vector. So there is a difference between a displacement vector and a position vector. For position vector, we simply require one point coordinate. As for a displacement vector, we require 2 points A and B, and either of the 2 points may not be the origin. Okay, so in physical questions or in questions of physics, you will be asked like this: a particle starts from point A and reaches to point B. Find the position vector or find the displacement vector. So if it is asking for the displacement vector, we should go for AB vector. If it is asking for position vector, so OA vector will be the initial position vector, OB will be the final position vector. That means if we write the position vector of A, so this will be written as OA vector, because we are looking for A position. So OA vector will be written as x1 I cap plus y1 j cap plus z1 k cap. Hopefully you are able to connect. Just like P had a coordinates x, y, z, we wrote this as a position vector. Similarly, A point has coordinates x1, y1, z1, so corresponding coefficients are connected with I cap, j cap and k cap. So this becomes the position vector of A. Now similarly, we can also write the position vector of point B, because we know the coordinates of point B, so this will be known as OB vector, and this OB vector will become x2 I cap plus y2 j cap plus z2 k cap. Now you got to know position vector of A, position vector of B, because A and B are having their coordinates, and that those coordinates are known to us. But our intention or our objective is to find the displacement vector. So how to write the displacement vector if the position vectors are known to us? So if we know these position vectors, we can write the displacement vector. So we will be writing this displacement vector. AB vector is defined as position vector of point B minus position vector of point A. So this is going to be the relation that we are going to use in order to find displacement vector if the position vectors are known to us. So how to find it? It's a AB vector is going to be equal to position vector of B minus position vector of A, which can also be stated in this manner, that AB vector is equal to OB vector, because position vector can also be written as OB vector minus OA vector. So this is the law of vector, and we will be learning it in detail when we will be using addition and subtraction of vector. You can think of this is indicating subtraction of two vectors, OB vector minus OA vector, and AB vector is basically written in this format. So these are formulas you can think of for the time being. Later on you will be realizing that they are valid when we will be using geometrical analysis as well as analytical methods. Anyway, so this is AB vector, which is a displacement vector, which we can write like this. Once we know OA vector, OB vector, we can always find AB vector. So can we find this AB vector in this particular case? So from here we will be writing it as OB, which is this, OA, which is this. So let me write and complete it. AB vector will become equal to OB expression has x2, y2, z2, so we will writing it as x2 I cap plus y2 j cap plus z2 k cap. This minus OA vector, which is having coordinates x1, y1, z1, so it will be written as x1 I cap plus y1 j cap plus z1 k cap. Now here we need to learn some more points. Whenever we are putting their minus sign or plus sign, what happens? For that sake, corresponding coefficients of I cap, j cap, k cap, they gets added or subtracted. So this is a rule of addition and subtraction. So AB vector is going to be equal to, now this is x2 I cap, this is x1 I cap with a minus sign, so we can take I cap as a common, it's a common sense. So if we take I cap as a common, so in bracket we are going to left with x2 minus x1. Then if we take the j cap common from these two terms, then you are going to find it at y2 minus y1 j cap. And similarly, we can go for the third term, which is k cap. So we will be finding it as a z2 minus z1 k cap. If you catch it, it's going to be easy to do the calculations for this particular case. So we can say in this case, or for this particular type of coordinates, we can write this is going to be the vector AB vector, which is known as a displacement vector. That means particle is moving from location A and reaching to location B. So initial location to final location is known as a displacement. This displacement is a physical quantity, and in the next chapter, kinematics, we will be defining this, and its definition will be exactly this: when a particle goes from one location and reaches to another location, then the vector joining initial to final locations is known as displacement vector. And here we can find write down the vector. If once we have got this vector is carrying its magnitude as well as its direction. Since it carries both magnitude and direction, we can easily find out what the magnitude is. There's a rule that we have just learned. If this is a vector given to us, in order to find the magnitude, what we are going to do, we are going to do under root, or we are going to put the square root, and we will be squaring the coefficient of I, coefficient of j, coefficient of k, and adding them inside this square root. So that will become the magnitude of this vector. Similarly, we can also find the direction of this vector, which is going to be AB cap, and we know the definition for this direction is AB vector divided by its magnitude. Making sense? So this is how we can find the displacement vector, its magnitude, its direction, or vector containing both together. Just to make it more clear, let's take an example in which we will be writing down displacement vector. We will be finding its magnitude and direction, all of it. Here is the example. Example says a particle moves from location A. A location is known to us, to location B. B has been given its coordinates. We need to find displacement vector, first part, magnitude of displacement, second part, direction of displacement as a third part. Okay, so let's solve how we can solve it. Again, if you want, you can pause the video and solve it by your own and then check your answer. No, this is a vector, this is A point, this is B point. Either if we want, we can also draw the Cartesian coordinate system or locate these points, or otherwise we can move ahead, because we know the displacement vector is going to be written as AB vector, and this AB vector will be equal to position vector of B, which is OB vector, minus position vector of A, which is OA vector. So we'll be using the formula displacement vector is equal to position vector of B minus position vector of A. Then we will be proceeding further. Position vector of B will be decided by coordinates of B, which is going to be 0 I cap plus 3 j cap plus 0 k cap. Now you can think of these zeros can be dropped because they will have no role to play in calculation. So now we will go for OA vector. In OA vector we are going to get it as a twice I cap plus 0 j cap plus 4 k cap. I have written 0 just to illustrate that this is how the position vector is written, but later on we can drop them. So this will be equal to, now you can say this first term is going to be simply 3j cap, and from the second we are going to get it as a twice I cap with a minus sign, and the minus 4k cap, minus 4k cap. So this AB vector will be equal to, this is our displacement vector, that means this is our first part, and displacement vector is going to be, AB vector is equal to minus 2I cap plus 3j cap minus 4k cap. Now generally we write in this manner, that means we follow I, J, K order. So I cap is first, then J cap, then K cap. So this is become your displacement, you can say this much, or units, whatever the unit is given. If it is in meters, so we can write meter. If it is in centimeters, so we can use a centimeter. So AB vector, that's a displacement vector, becomes this number, and it carries both magnitude as well as direction. So you will get this kind of one option. You need to simply mark this. That's a complete answer. Now let's go for the second part. Once we know the vector AB, we can always find its magnitude. So what the magnitude of this vector is going to be? So the rule of magnitude we need to apply. We need to simply say, take the square root, write the coefficient of I cap, which is minus 2 over here, and make the square of it, plus coefficient of j cap square plus coefficient of k cap square. Now you can note one point over here. These minus sign and plus sign, they will make no difference, because we know ultimately we need to square these numbers. If there's a minus sign, that minus sign after square will become plus. So basically these coefficients square sum has to be calculated, and if there's a minus sign coming in, so we should not place a minus in between, because we need to square the entire coefficient. So I coefficient is minus 2, so I'm squaring minus 2, so it will convert into plus. Similarly 3 I'm squaring, and k cap has a coefficient minus 4, hence I'm squaring minus 4 and putting the plus in between. So take care of this. There can be a chance of making a mistake, and you should not do so. Okay, then you can do the simple calculation. This is going to be 4, and then you can square this. This is going to be 9, and then you square this. This is going to be 16. So we can add these numbers up. If we add these numbers, so this is going to 25 plus 4, 29. So magnitude becomes square root of 29. So we can claim over here that the magnitude of displacement is square root of 29 units. Again, if it is in meter, we can place in meter, otherwise centimeter or whatsoever. So this is how we can get the magnitude. So if a vector is known to us, we should be learning here how to get its magnitude, and this is what we are going to use always to get a magnitude out of a vector, if the vector is written in I cap, j cap, k cap. Now third part, which is talking about the direction. Writing the direction AB cap, we will be using the formula AB vector divided by its magnitude. Now AB vector is written over here, which is minus 2I cap plus 3j cap minus 4k cap. Let's divide this by its magnitude. Magnitude is square root of 29, so we will divide it by square root of 29. Now this is a direction, so we should not write any unit over here, or you can think of this unit and this unit, they are getting cancelled out because direction does not carry any unit. So we should not write any unit over here, and that becomes your answer. So this becomes the answer for direction without unit. This is the answer for magnitude. You see the magnitude is a positive, and from expression you can watch the magnitude is always going to be positive, because the square root and inside things are going to be squared. That means they are going to be positive, or that means we can say non-negative. So this is always positive, so this becomes your magnitude. And this is how we can write the vector. So from this example you must be able to understand how to write a displacement vector if the coordinates are known to us. I have used the example for 3-dimensional, that means x, y as well as z. Either you will get a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. The rule remains the same. Okay, so this example illustrates to writing a vector which is a displacement vector, its magnitude, its direction out of coordinates given for 2 points. One thing can also be asked, and this is the simplest thing, writing the position vector of A and writing the position vector of B. So you say this is position vector of A, this is position vector of B. So if somebody asks write the position vector of A, simply write this thing, and if somebody asks write the position of vector of B, then write this thing. I hope you are able to connect it, and if you are able to, the job is done. Now let's move ahead. Now let's talk about another important form of a vector, that's known as polar form of a vector. Generally it's represented as r theta. R theta is also known as the polar coordinates, just like x, y are known as a Cartesian coordinate system. So let's say there is a vector, this OP vector, and let's say it's a 2-dimensional, so it has x and y. We are talking about 2D vector now. So this P point is going to be in this plane of x and y, that means in whiteboard plane that you are able to see, P point lies on that plane. And this OP vector, how this OP vector is written as, that's called position vector, and we have understood how it is written as the position vector of point P is going to be x I cap plus y j cap. So this is one way of representation of position vector, we know that. Now we can also call this OP vector by A vector, or let's say we are calling over here by R vector. So this OP vector can also be said to be R vector. So if I'm writing as R vector, so it's going to be OP vector. So here this OP vector is same as writing R vector. It's just like writing A vector, small a letters. In place of a small a, I'm using R letter. So OP vector is same as R vector, that means they will have the same magnitude, same direction. So now we want to write this vector, OP vector, in a different terms like R and theta. So we need to know what the R is indicating, what the theta is indicating. And R theta, they are known as polar coordinates, hence this is known as a polar form. Now what this indicates, let me illustrate by this joining this point P with this x-axis and all that, like writing these coordinates. So if we drop a foot of perpendicular over here, then you will find this quantity is known as y and this quantity is known as x. We know these coordinates. Now once we have written this x and this y, then x is written over there, y is written over there in representing the vector. Now since for a vector two things matters, one is the direction, another is the magnitude. Magnitude represents the length of this OP and the direction represents from O to P. Now to measure this direction, we will be using theta. So theta has particular way of measurement. From this positive x direction, we will be moving in this direction. So if we are moving in anti-clockwise sense, so from positive x direction in anti-clockwise sense, if we are moving, then theta has to be read as a positive. If we are moving from positive x direction in clockwise sense, then theta is going to be negative. So here positive theta, here it is going to be negative theta. This is how we will be assigning sign for this theta measurement. Okay, so here I have drawn for positive case, so this is theta, which is positive. So it is always measured from positive x direction, and if it is positive, then it is in anti-clockwise sense. If it is negative, that means it is in clockwise sense. Now you can see there is a right angle triangle. Using this right angle triangle, we can find out x and y in terms of r and theta. Here this r without an arrow is representing the length OP. So here this is true both ways. That means OP vector magnitude is indicated by r magnitude, and which we simply write by letter r. So R is indicating the magnitude, and that is the length OP. So OP length is R. This O, and let's say this point has a name as a C. So this OC length is X, CP length is Y. Using this right angle triangle, we can write the value of X as well as the value of Y in terms of R and theta. So let me write over here. If we apply, let me write directly, you can catch that using the trigonometry. We can say X is going to be equal to R cos theta. How I am able to write? I have used the cosine theta rule. Cosine theta says a base divided by hypotenuse. So X divided by R is a cos theta. Rewriting, we will get this. Similarly, we can get the Y value. You will get Y value is going to come out as R sin theta. So point is, if R is known as to us, theta is known to us, we can always write X coordinate as R cos theta and Y coordinate as R sin theta. That means this P coordinate can be written in terms of R in theta as R cos theta, comma R sin theta. Now let's substitute these two values in this position vector OP. So let's write this R vector, which is position vector OP, equal to R vector, and in terms of X, or in place of X, we will be writing R cos theta. So this will become R cos theta I cap, plus in place of Y I can substitute R sin theta. So this will become R sin theta j cap. From here we can rewrite this, and we can say this R vector, which is a position vector, here its R vector is representing as a position vector. So this position vector is going to be, now you can take this R as a common, which is a magnitude, and once we take this R as a common, in bracket we are going to get as a cos theta I cap plus sin theta j cap. So this expression is trying to explain that if R and theta are known to us, that means if R and theta are given to us, we can write the position vector of any point P. Now that means position vector basically tries to explain or indicate the position of point P. So if we know the length, if we know the direction, we can reach to the point P. So we can get the address of point P in terms of R theta. The same address can also be found out using X and Y. So this is known as Cartesian coordinate, or this representation is known as representation in XY. So this is one of the important representation, I cap j cap component in X using XY, and this is also an important expression which uses R and theta. So this R theta expression is known as polar form. Now we can always convert from Cartesian form to polar form, from polar form to Cartesian form. For that sake, what we need to remember is this relation. So if we remember this relation, we can easily find conversion from one form to another form. For instance, this, the way it has been expressed over here, this says if R theta is known to us, we can find X and Y. Now we can rewrite this so in such a way that we can find R and theta if X and Y are known to us. So I'm using this different color, or we can rewrite in this manner. Let's say we are looking for this hypotenuse. We can say hypotenuse is going to be square root of X square and Y square, or you can simply say you square and add these numbers. So from here you will be able to get this R value, which is going to be equal to X square plus Y square. You can justify this in n number of ways. That means R vector has a magnitude as OP magnitude, get this magnitude which is going to be equal to X square plus Y square. Now this expression is trying to say that if we know the X and Y, we can get R. Making sense? Now again use this OCP, right angle triangle, and apply this tan theta. Now if we apply this tan theta, you will get this perpendicular divided by base. So perpendicular is Y, base is X. Now these two expressions are equally important. What these expressions are trying to say, they are trying to explain that if X and Y are known to us, we can get the value of R and theta. From here theta can be calculated. Theta is going to be tan inverse Y by X. Making sense? And these two expressions are trying to say if R and theta are known to us, we can get X and Y. So this becomes important for us. Why? Because one form is maybe given to you and you might be asked to convert into another form. So if it is given in X and Y term, use these two to get r and theta and put here, or you can say what is r, what is theta. Similarly, if r theta are known to us, so we can use this, can get x value and y value and substitute to get the value of vector in terms of x and y. Making sense? So we can always convert from one form to another form. One form means Cartesian form, to another form means polar form. Okay, so that's another way of representation of a vector. I hope it's making sense. Let's say a simple example to illustrate this conversion. So example says write I cap plus root 3 j cap in polar form. So this is a vector. We are supposed to write this in another form, which is a polar form. So what we are going to do, we can also locate the vector in the coordinate system, or what we can say from here, we can say this vector has to be equal to xi cap, comparing this as xi cap plus yj cap. I'm talking about the solution. Let's say this vector is indicated by a vector. So this a vector is going to be equal to xi cap plus yj cap. We can compare this. After comparison, we will get the value of x as 1 and value of y as root 3. So once we have got the value of x and y, we can find the value of r and theta. How to get the r value? We know r value is, as per the rule that we have talked about, is going to be x square plus y square. Now let's put the value of x and y. X is 1, square of 1, then square of root 3. That's a square root overall. So this will be converting into 1 plus 3. That's going to be square root of 4. That's going to be equal to 2 unit. So the magnitude is going to be 2. So r value we have calculated is equal to 2. Okay. Then another quantity that we need to find out is a theta. So let's say we are calculating theta there. So another formula that we have, tan theta is equal to y by x. Let's put the value of y, which is root 3, and the value of x, which is 1. From here we are able to find the tan theta value as root 3. Now tan theta is root 3. From here we can get the value of theta. So theta is 60 degree. That 60 degree can be written as pi by 3. So either you write pi by 3 radian or 60 degree, both are equal. So how we are going to represent the polar form? So we can say the polar form is written in terms of r and theta. That means r and theta. That's a polar form. So we can say this is going to be equal to writing 2 comma 60 degree or pi by 3. So if we are writing in this manner, 2 unit pi by 3 radian, that means this is in the form of polar. That means this is the value of r and this is the value of theta. Mind it, we need to also specify what are the units. So we will be specifying radians, and here whatever the unit of r is given to us. So if this form is component form is given to us, we can convert it into polar form by catching the value of x and y, then using these relations. One relation is here, another relation is here. Similarly, we can convert in another form if r and theta is given to us. So we can use those relations that we have talked in the previous slide. I hope this is simple and making sense to you guys. After learning representation of vector, now let's move ahead and talk about types of vectors. So vectors can be basically categorized as various types. So there can be a long list to categorize the vectors. I am going to use or we are going to discuss only those types which are important for us, which are relevant and which are commonly used. So here is the list. Let's start one by one. First is written as a unit vector. So unit vector is a vector having magnitude 1. So if a vector has magnitude 1, I'm writing in short, magnitude is equal to unit. So any vector having 1 unit magnitude or 1 magnitude is known as unit vector. That means if I say magnitude of a vector A is 1, then we can claim I'm writing over here, if this is completed, if magnitude of vector A is 1, then it will be saying that this A vector is a unit vector. Making sense? So unit vector basically talks about a vector which has unit magnitude, 1 magnitude. Now we can further go and have some interpretations, since we know for any vector A this relation is always true. A vector is equal to magnitude of that vector into direction of that vector. Now since the magnitude is a number which is a positive number, this is 1, so we can substitute this as a 1, so it's going to be A vector is equal to A cap. That means something, that says A vector is same as A cap, that means A cap will have magnitude 1. That means this vector, which is a unit vector, is going to represent the direction. So from here we can conclude unit vector represent direction. So it represent direction. It represents direction. So whenever a unit vector is given to us, we can claim two things, that its magnitude is 1 and it is representing direction. So A cap, and further we can say from here, or we can conclude from here, that the magnitude of A cap, which is a direction, is going to be 1. And that's going to be another important point you need to remember, or you are going to get it n times in vectors. So magnitude of unit vector is 1, or you can say magnitude of any cap is 1, that means magnitude of direction is 1. This is how we define the direction, that we take the magnitude of that direction as a 1. That's why we multiplied the direction with the magnitude, it does not change the magnitude, right? So A cap or any cap will have 1 as a magnitude, and the unit vector will be indicating direction. So that's important type of vector you need to remember. And since this is a magnitude 1, so we can also write it as a, we can also show this thing in a Cartesian coordinate system. Whenever we are drawing a unit vector, that means we need to keep the length as 1 unit. I think that's obvious and you can grasp it. Now let's move ahead and talk about the next type, which is called null vector or zero vector. So a vector is said to be null vector or zero vector when the magnitude of that vector is 0. So if we are getting 0 magnitude, that vector is known as null vector or zero vector. It says if magnitude of a vector is given to us as 0, we will claim a vector is a null vector, or you can call it as a zero vector, null or zero vector. So I hope it's obvious because of the nomenclature. We have used the similar nomenclature. Null means 0 or 0 means 0. That means a vector is null or zero vector when its magnitude is 0. That means vector is having 0, vector has 0 magnitude, initial point and final point, they coincides, right? So that's null vector. How we write this vector null vector as, so we write a vector is going to be equal to 0 vector. Because a vector, so it has to be written as a null vector, zero vector. Now you might be asked, what is the direction of zero vector? So we'll say direction is indeterminate because it starts from the same point now and ends at the same point. But we know that to calculate the direction we need to have a two different point. Then that's only when we can say the direction runs from A to B. If A and B are at the same location, then it will be very difficult for us to decide the direction. Hence we claim it is indeterminate, that means cannot be found. So direction cannot be determined. Direction cannot be determined or cannot be found or determined. Okay, so null vector is zero vector which is having 0 magnitude, and its direction cannot be determined. Then there can be a question in your brain, why at all we are defining a null vector or zero vector if it is not able to if we are not able to decide its direction. So what the utility of this vector is, you'll find its utility is in writing the equations. For instance, if we write, let's say we write a equal to 4, right? So that means magnitude of A is a 4. Or let's say we are writing an scalar equation like A plus B is equal to 0. So that says A magnitude plus B magnitude sum up to 0, or they can be any number, right? But if we are writing A plus B, then we cannot write it as a 0. Why we cannot write it as a 0? Because 0 is a scalar quantity, and on the left hand side you are having a vector sum. So when we sum two vectors, we always get a vector. So instead of writing 0, what we are going to writing? We are going to write it as a 0 vector. So just to make the equations valid, because this equality says whatever written on the right side must be equal to same as on the left side. So if the left side is a vector, right side must be a vector. So this is a scalar equation, whereas this is a vector equation. That means in order to enable us to write the vector equation, we define this null or 0 vector. Making sense? So after learning this unit vector and null vector, now let's proceed further. Third type that has been mentioned over here is equal vectors. Now it says we are going to compare two vectors. In the first type and the second type, we have talked about one vector. Now we are comparing two vectors, or more than two. That also going to work. So equal vectors, that means let's say we got a vector A and we got a vector B, and if somebody says they are equal vector, that means the vectors are said to be equal if A vector is equal to B vector. That's so simple. Now what the implications of it is going to be? Its implication or its meaning is going to be that the magnitude of A is equal to magnitude of B, 1 point, as well as direction of A is equal to direction of B. So if we are having two vectors which are having same magnitude and same direction, then we say vectors are equal, or otherwise if equal vectors are there, we can claim this. That means this is true both ways. So this condition, if it is given to us, we say these vectors are equal vectors. Mind it, whenever we say equal vectors, then both the condition has to be true, magnitude as well as direction, they must be equal. If we want to draw them, so if this is a vector A, let me draw it properly. So if this is one vector A, then you will find B vector will be exactly same and parallel. So this will be B vector. That means they are in the same direction as well as they have the same length. So this kind of vectors are known as equal vectors. If there are two, then two vectors will be equal. If there are multiple, we can say all are equal as long as all have same magnitude and the directions of all are equal. Next is opposite vectors. Opposite vectors are just opposite of this. That means they have same magnitude. Let's say this is A vector, then B vector will be having opposite direction and will have the same magnitude. So we will be having two vectors A and B such that their magnitudes are equal, but directions are opposite. Opposite direction. So if the directions are opposite, magnitudes are equal, we call them as the opposite vector. Now this could be written in terms of mathematics. We will be writing it as A vector is equal to minus of B vector. That means this minus sign basically reverse the direction. So when we write A vector is equal to minus B vector, that means A vector has the same magnitude as a B vector, but A vector has a direction opposite to B vector. This opposite direction is indicated by this minus sign. This is a rule of a vector or rule of vectors. So this opposite direction could also be written in this way. That means direction of A is equal to minus direction of B. Whenever we write A cap is equal to minus B cap, it implies opposite directions. So minus sign has to do with the direction, because we know the magnitudes are always positive. So A magnitude is equal to B magnitude, right? This will be true again both ways. That means A vector equal to minus B vector will be known as opposite vectors, which will imply magnitude of A equal to magnitude of B, and direction of A is opposite to direction of B. Making sense? Here I have used symbol A and B. You can also use symbol this A vector is equal to magnitude of B vector, because we know when we take the magnitude, minus sign does not make any sense. So this or this, they are the same thing, right? So this minus sign has to play a role with the direction. Because of this minus sign, we call them a opposite vector. Sometimes it's also known as negative vector. Why we say negative vector? Because one vector is negative of another. So A vector is minus of B vector, so we will say A vector is negative of B vector. So if vector is A shown like this, B is just opposite in direction, having same magnitude or length, then we say they are opposite vector or negative vectors. Okay, so these are the terminologies you need to get used to of them. You are getting it. Next category is parallel and anti-parallel vectors. So when we use parallel term, so in case of parallel, you'll find vectors are having same direction. So that means A cap is equal to B cap. That means they have a same direction, but magnitudes may not be same. So we write them as if this is the case, then we write A vector is parallel to B vector, and this is true both ways. Making sense? So direction of A must be equal to direction of B. That's only the condition. Magnitudes may be different. Let's say this is A vector, geometrically represented, and there is another vector B which is represented over here. They have the same direction, but their lengths are different. So they will not be known as the same vector or equal vector. They will be known as parallel vectors. Making sense? In case of anti-parallel, you will find in case of anti-parallel, they will have opposite direction. That means direction of A is going to be equal to minus direction of B. So when the directions are opposite and nothing is clear for their magnitudes, they will be known as anti-parallel. That means if this is indicating vector A, then vector B will be parallel to this but in opposite direction. So opposite direction, if it is going, then it's called, they together is known as anti-parallel vectors. Now this parallel term is very common, or in sometimes loosely it indicates both parallel as well as anti-parallel. But when it says anti-parallel, that means they are opposite in direction, and when it says parallel, we will mean it like they are having the same direction. But we need to be careful. If it has been used as a general way, so it might also count anti-parallel within it. Okay, so that has to be based on the question, and we need to interpret accordingly. Next categorization is co-initial vectors. Now if we have more than two vectors and they start from the same point, they are known as co-initial vectors. So then the name itself says everything. Let's say this is vector A, which starts from this point, and there is a vector B which is also starting from the same point, and there is another vector C which is also starting from the same point. Then we will say A, B and C vector, they are co-initial. Co means same, initial means initial location. So if initial locations, or that means tail points, they are same, then we say the vectors are co-initial vectors. Making sense? So this is another categorization. Let's move ahead and talk about two more important types of vectors. The seventh number is collinear vectors. So two vectors are said to be collinear if they lie along the same line. So if we are having this vector A and we can have a B vector along the same line, then we say they are collinear vectors. That means they are lying along the same line. Basically they are trying to say they are in the same direction, or they may be opposite direction, so they are lying on the same line. That's what it says. So this is known as collinear vectors. Now whenever you are being asked like two vectors are collinear, that means we can always write one vector in terms of another vector. That means B vector can always be written as lambda times A vector. So this is how we can write relation between two collinear vectors. Now this lambda is going to be a scalar number, b vector is a vector, a vector is a vector, so that means a vector and b vector can be related by a scalar number. And this lambda is going to decide how much magnitude of b is more as compared to a, right? And this lambda sign of this lambda term is going to decide whether they are in the same direction or they are in the opposite direction. If lambda is coming out to be positive, then you'll find direction of b will be equal to the direction of a. If lambda is a number negative, then you'll find these two vectors will be in opposite direction. We will deal this what happens when we multiply a vector with a scalar, but shortly I'm explaining over here. That means you can remember this. Two collinear vectors can always be related like this, so we can always form an equation for two collinear vectors. Make sense? And this last category is coplanar vectors. Now if vectors are lying in the same plane, we call them as coplanar. Co means same, planar means plane. Now we know any two vectors, if we draw two free vectors, they always be in single plane. So that means if there are two vectors, we can always make a plane that contains both the vectors. Now hence the condition for coplanarity will be needed for more than two vectors, right? So when more than two vectors lie in the same plane, we call them coplanar vectors. So let me write in short. If two or more than two vectors are always planar, so we can write simply as this. If three vectors and more than three, that will work. If three or more than three vectors lie in same plane, then they are known as coplanar vectors. So then they will be known as coplanar vectors. More than three can also be there, right? So let's say I'm drawing a vector A over here, vector B like this, vector C like this. You will find all the three vectors have been drawn in this plane of whiteboard. All these vectors are coplanar. If I draw a D vector which is starting from this point and coming outward to this screen, that vector will not be in the plane of A, B and C. Hence we can say A, B, C, D are not non-coplanar, right? So coplanar means they lie in same plane. Later on we will be finding a condition for vectors to be coplanar, right? So these types of vectors you need to keep in mind, this terminology which is going to be important in order to read the question and solve the question. Okay. Now let's talk about one small but important point, which is written over here, angle between two vectors. So if we have two vectors, then we need to find the angle between those vectors. Let's say that angle is theta. So we will be generally using the angle theta to indicate angle between two vectors. Geometrically, I'm going to explain over here. Let's say we got a vector A, this is a vector A, and this is a vector B. And if somebody says angle between these two vectors is theta, then what this mean? That's what we are going to talk about. So how to decide what the angle between A vector and B vector is? For that sake, one thing you need to do, you need to translate one of the vector from its position and join the two vector, because we have talked about when we translate a vector from its location to another location, it does not change the vector as long as you does not change the direction, neither you change the length, right? So what we are going to do, we will take this vector B and will be joining along with A. How to join? That's an important point. So we will be joining this vector in such a way that the tails of the two vectors are joined together. So we can place this vector B over here without changing its magnitude or direction. If we are not changing the magnitude or direction, that means they are going to be equal vectors. So this B vector has been placed over here. So this another vector is equal to B vector. Hence we are writing it as a B vector. Now once the two tails are joined, so from this tail point you will find that two vectors are moving outwards. So here you can see two angles are being formed. One angle is this, another angle is this. So always we will get, whenever the two lines are being joined, you will get two angles will be formed. we will be opting for the smaller angle between these two cases. So a smaller angle has to be opted for. So this angle will be known as angle theta. It's a simple, but it's important. So how to get the angle between two vectors? You just join the tails and see what the angle between these two is, and look for the smaller one. Or else, what else you can do? If you are not joining this with the tail, you can join the tail of this with the head of another. That means you can draw over here as well, because we know as long as we are not changing the magnitude and direction, vector remains same, so that will also be b vector. Now in this case, we need to be careful. The theta will be that angle which is indicating outward direction. So A will have an outward direction, so I'm extending the outward direction of A, and that's the direction of B. So this angle has to be measured as angle theta. And we know by geometry both are indicating the same theta. So if this is theta, this is going to be theta. Point is, we should not measure this angle. This angle is not known as angle between the vectors. This angle is known as angle between the vectors. So idea is, you just join the tails and see outward directions. So angle between the directions which are outwards, we call that as angle theta. And there are going to be two directions. Of course, we will be choosing the smaller angle. There are going to be two angles. Smaller angle is being used. Okay. So let's see an example about it. Here is an example. It reads, three vectors A vector, B vector, C vector are shown in the figure. Find angle between 1 A and B, 2 B and C, 3 A and C. So this is indicating 1 A vector, this is B vector, this is C vector. For all cases, x-axis has been indicated for a reference purpose. So since we know these vectors can be translocated to any location, so what we are going to do for solving this, we can say that this is our axis. So this picture we can draw, and in this picture we have drawn this x direction. So A vector makes 30 degree in the upward directions, upside. So from x direction we will be drawing A vector, keeping the same magnitude, same direction. Similarly, we can draw B vector as a co-initial vector. So co-initial vector is a B vector, and we can draw the C as a co-initial, so that will make 45 degree from the x-axis. Once you redraw these vectors as a co-initial vector, then you will find angles will be easily known to us. Making sense or not? So if there are several vectors, we can translocate them in such a way so that they becomes co-initial. Now this was a 30 degree from x-axis of A. This is a 30 degree of from x-axis downside of B, and 45 for C. Now, so first part, A option is asking about A and B. So this is a vector A, this is a vector B, this is a 30, this is a 30. So can we say first answer is going to be 30 degree plus 30 degree, which is equal to 60 degree. Can you see for second part, B and C? B is there, C is there, so we need to find this angle. Now from x-axis it's a 45, for B it is 30, so 45 minus 30 will become our answer. 45 minus 30, so that's going to be 15 degree. Similarly, can we answer the third part, which is A and C? A makes 30 degree from x-axis upside, C makes 45 downside, so both will be added up to get the total angle. So it's going to be 30 plus 45, which will lead to 75 degree. So we can find angle between vectors AB, BC and AC if we transfer this in this format. So what we are using the concept that any vector can be translocated from one location to another location as long as you keep its direction and magnitude intact. Okay. Now let me give you one question to you to solve and answer on the comment section. That will be all for this video lecture. So here is the question that you are supposed to try. Question says, find angle between vector A and vector B. This is a vector A, this is a vector B. You have been shown A vector, B vector, and this angle has been given 60 degree. We need to find the angle between vector A and B. It's a simple question. If you have got the concept, you can answer it. So solve it and answer in the comment section. Fine. And well, so this was the video in which we have talked about a lot of important things, mostly theoretical things, are related to vector representation, then a three-dimensional vector representation, getting the magnitude and direction of three-dimensional vector, polar representation. Then we went for the types of vectors, several types. They are theoretically important to make you used to with the terminologies or language that we are going to use. And in the last we have talked about one important aspect to measure the angle between two vectors. And then there is a homework question for you. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.